Have you ever asked yourself why some people keep rising higher while others stay stuck, even though their talents look almost the same? Is it really just luck? Or is there a hidden path that most of us walk right past without noticing? The answer, I believe, lies not in crushing others, but in learning how to lift them as you climb. That's how you create a kind of success that doesn't vanish when circumstances shift. And if you're ready to step into this kind of growth, one built not on envy or fear, but on clarity and inner strength, then stay with me. This channel is a space where we dive deep into the mindset changes that unlock resilience, fulfillment, and the kind of power that no one can take away from you. Lesson 1. Shifting from me to we. Most people are trained to chase success with a scarcity mindset. We are told from childhood that resources are limited, that if someone else wins the race, it means we must lose. Grades, promotions, recognition, they are treated as if they were slices of a pie that cannot grow. And so we compete relentlessly. We are encouraged to look sideways, to compare constantly, to treat the advancement of another as proof of our own decline. But here's what I've learned, both from Stoic philosophy and from my own life. The pie of success is not fixed. It expands. When people collaborate, new opportunities appear, new possibilities open, and everyone rises higher together. Scarcity shrinks us. It keeps us stuck, fighting for crumbs. It leaves us bitter, jealous, and restless, never satisfied. But a shift to we transforms the battlefield into a field of possibilities. It changes competition into collaboration. This perspective is not easy. It demands courage, because it asks you to loosen your grip on the ego's desire to be the only one who shines. But once you make this shift, a huge weight falls off your shoulders. You stop obsessing about being the sole winner, and you free yourself from envy. Let me give you an example. A musician with a me mindset will waste hours comparing their skills with others, worrying about who gets more recognition. But a musician with a we mindset collaborates, creates harmonies, and builds performances that no single person could have achieved alone. The result? Music that echoes further and deeper than the sound of a solo. This does not mean losing individuality. It means finding joy in shared victories. The mindset of me produces isolation, jealousy, and endless comparison. It whispers that everyone else is a threat. But the truth? Every person brings unique strengths, experiences, and ideas. When combined, these don't just add up, they multiply. Imagine a team where everyone insists on being the star. It collapses quickly under the weight of ego. Now imagine a team where everyone embraces their role, contributes fully, and celebrates others' victories. That team achieves excellence. When you shift from me to we, you recognize that another person's success doesn't take anything away from you. It actually enriches your journey, weaving you into a stronger network of growth. And here's the relief. Constantly trying to outshine everyone else is exhausting. It's like running a race without a finish line. But when you embrace we, you stop seeing others' wins as threats. Instead, you celebrate them because you know their success expands the collective potential. And often, it creates more doors for everyone, including you. Think about entrepreneurs. Many imagine business as cutthroat competition, but the healthiest business ecosystems are built when entrepreneurs share resources, refer clients, and support one another. Instead of shrinking the market, they expand it together. The Stoics understood this deeply. They reminded themselves that humanity is like one body with many parts. If one organ suffers, the whole body suffers. If one thrives, the whole body benefits. So adopting a we mindset is not just nice, it's natural. Your well-being is tied to the well-being of others. When you help others rise, you rise with them. When you sabotage, isolate, or hoard, you cut yourself off from the very connections that could elevate you. Life stops being about survival. It becomes about shared flourishing. And the more people embrace this shift, the more we all discover that real joy, real strength, and real success are not found in outpacing others, but in walking alongside them. Lesson 2. Finding strength in collaboration. When we look back at history, it becomes obvious. The greatest breakthroughs were never achieved alone. Nations were not built by solitary rulers, but by countless hands, voices, and hearts working together. Technologies that changed the world didn't appear from a single mind locked in isolation. They emerged from teams of thinkers, builders, and dreamers combining their strengths. Even the revolutions of thought, movements for justice, and renaissances in art were not the products of one genius. They were the results of many people, each adding their own spark to a fire that lit up the world. This is the truth we often forget. Collaboration doesn't weaken you. It makes you stronger. It transforms your individual limits into collective power, turning what once felt impossible into something achievable. When you align yourself with people who share your vision, you amplify your abilities. Alone, you may have talent, determination, and ideas, but in partnership, those resources multiply. Collaboration builds resilience. Why? Because it spreads the weight. When one person falters, others help carry the load. It sparks creativity because different perspectives collide and merge, producing insights no single mind could imagine. And it accelerates progress because collective intelligence will always be greater than individual intelligence. Think of the human body. No single organ could sustain life on its own. But together, as one system, the organs create balance, strength, and adaptability. In the same way, individuals who collaborate form networks of endurance, creativity, and achievement. Isolation can be tempting for those who value independence. But independence without connection is fragile. When storms come, the isolated person has no one to lean on, no one to share wisdom, no one to lighten the burden. Collaboration, however, ensures that even in hardship, courage and solutions are shared. Look at how communities recover from disasters. A flood or earthquake cannot be faced by one person alone. But when neighbors work hand in hand, they rebuild not just houses, but hope. The strongest individuals are not those who insist on carrying everything themselves. The strongest are those who build teams, families, and friendships that make the weight lighter. History is full of proof. The moon landing, remembered as Neil Armstrong's giant leap, was in truth the work of hundreds of thousands of scientists, engineers, and visionaries. Medical breakthroughs that saved millions of lives came not from a single genius, but from generations of researchers building on each other's discoveries. Even in the arts, where we often imagine the solitary creator, collaboration shaped masterpieces. Writers inspired writers. Painters drew strength from movements. Musicians created symphonies by playing together, not alone. Behind every so-called individual success lies an invisible web of collaboration that made it possible. But here's something even more important. Collaboration doesn't just achieve external goals. It strengthens you internally. It humbles you because you see your dependence on others. It teaches patience because working with people requires compromise. It grows your empathy because you begin to see the world through perspectives you had never considered. This is why the Stoics often reminded themselves, no one exists for themselves alone. We are each a part of the whole. True strength does not come from standing apart, but from standing together. And I've found in my own life that collaboration is also the cure for discouragement. When you are alone, failure feels heavy. But when you are part of a group that shares your vision, even failure is reframed. It becomes a lesson, a shared challenge to overcome together. There is a saying often attributed to African wisdom. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And the journeys worth taking are always the ones that go farther. They are carried by many hands, many voices, many hearts moving as one. Lesson 3, sharing knowledge without fear. In today's competitive world, many people cling tightly to what they know. They worry that if they share too much, someone else might surpass them. But here lies a paradox. When you share knowledge, you don't lose it, you multiply it. The more you teach, the deeper your own understanding becomes. The more you give away, the more life tends to give back. Think of fire. When you use your flame to light another candle, your light doesn't weaken. Instead, it spreads warmth and illumination into places it hadn't reached before. Knowledge works in exactly the same way. Hoarding it creates fear and insecurity. Sharing it openly cultivates confidence, wisdom, and growth. The greatest leaders, mentors, and thinkers across history understood this. They never hoarded wisdom as if it were a treasure to be locked away. They gave it freely, knowing that lifting others only elevates themselves higher. True confidence means helping others shine without fearing that their light will dim your own. Seneca, one of the great Roman Stoics, once said, "While we teach, we learn." Every time you explain an idea, you refine your own grasp of it. Every time you guide someone else, you sharpen your own clarity. To fear teaching is to fear growth itself. Why then do so many hold back? It comes from a scarcity mindset, the belief that success is limited, that if someone else rises, it must lower your chances. But this is false. Success is not a pie that shrinks when shared. It is more like a field that expands when cultivated together. When someone grows because of the wisdom you shared, their success often circles back in surprising ways. They might open doors of opportunity for you. They might challenge you to improve further. Or they might spread your influence indirectly to people you could never reach on your own. Sharing also builds legacy. People rarely remember those who guarded knowledge selfishly. They remember the teachers, mentors, and guides who gave generously of their time and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius did not hide his reflections. He wrote them down in meditations, never for fame, but as notes for himself. And yet they continue to inspire millions across centuries. Socrates and Epictetus taught openly, and their words still echo through civilizations. Their wisdom survived because they shared, not because they kept silent. In the modern world, the same principle applies. The most respected business leaders, scientists, and artists are remembered not only for what they achieved, but for what they passed on. And here's something I've seen in my own life. When you share knowledge, you remind yourself that you're always a student. Teaching forces humility because you realize how much more there is to learn. It opens the door for dialogue, correction, and refinement. That is how mastery truly grows, not in silence, but in exchange. So let me put it simply, wisdom is infinite. It grows with use, not with secrecy. To share knowledge without fear is an act of courage and abundance. It is a declaration that you are not threatened by others' growth, but strengthened by it. Each time you pass on what you've learned, you plant seeds. You may never see those seeds grow, but they may one day become forests that outlast you. That is the true power of knowledge. Not to hoard it as if it were fragile, but to give it freely, knowing that in return, it will only grow stronger. Lesson 4, celebrating collective wins. Jealousy shrinks the soul. It gnaws at you silently, leaving you bitter when others succeed. But maturity, true maturity, makes you better when others succeed. Learning to celebrate the victories of those around you is a mark of real strength. Every achievement you witness is proof that success is possible. Instead of asking, "Why not me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" The Stoics warned us that envy is wasted energy. It poisons the spirit without changing reality. Another person's triumph is not your defeat. It is a reminder that fortune still smiles, that effort still bears fruit, and that resilience is still rewarded. When you celebrate others, you don't just lift them, you also strengthen yourself. You build bonds of trust, relationships that endure, and communities where encouragement becomes the air people breathe. Joy when hoarded shrinks. Joy when shared expands. The same is true for success. If you can genuinely celebrate someone else's accomplishment, you transform competition into collaboration. Rivals become allies. The walls of envy crumble, and in their place stands a community where everyone is lifted higher. Think of a team. When one player scores, the entire team celebrates. The goal might be credited to a single person, but it was made possible by countless passes, strategies, and sacrifices. Life is no different. Every individual's success is woven into a web of unseen support. By celebrating these wins, you acknowledge your place in something larger than yourself. And in doing so, you strengthen the bonds that hold people together. It takes humility, of course. The insecure mind whispers, they are ahead of you. But the wise mind counters, their success shows what is possible. Instead of jealousy, let their victory inspire you to raise your own standards. Let it push you toward growth without poisoning your spirit. Epictetus once taught that our desires should align with what is good for all, not just for ourselves. What is good for one, when understood rightly, becomes good for many. There is also a practical power in this practice: reciprocity. When you lift others up, they are more likely to lift you when your turn comes. People gravitate toward those who radiate genuine joy for others. Such people become leaders, not through authority or force, but through generosity of spirit. In workplaces, friendships, and even families, those who celebrate collective wins create cultures of encouragement. And over time, those cultures achieve far more than any individual ambition could. Celebrating others does not mean ignoring your own dreams. It means rejecting the zero-sum illusion. Another person's success does not steal from you unless you chain yourself to narrow thinking. In fact, every win around you is evidence that your own victory is also possible. Their harvest is not a threat, it is a lesson. It shows you methods, persistence, and courage worth studying and applying to your own path. In the long run, both joy and success multiply when shared. A community that cheers together will always rise higher than one divided by envy and suspicion. So free yourself from the prison of comparison, celebrate without fear, rejoice without resentment. Every genuine celebration you give adds to the brightness of the world, and that brightness will one day reflect back on you. Lesson 5. Building a network of mutual success. One person can climb high, but only so far. A single individual has limits, but a network built on trust, respect, and shared victories can reach heights no one could imagine alone. This is the essence of a jealousy-free path to success, creating circles where everyone thrives. In such circles, my success doesn't threaten yours, and your success doesn't threaten mine. The modern world often teaches us to measure our worth by comparison, as if life were a zero-sum game. This mindset breeds envy, isolation, and the fear that there's not enough to go around. But the truth is the opposite. When you reject this mindset, you unlock a different reality. Success that multiplies instead of divides. A network of mutual support is not just a dream, it is a practical framework for sustainable growth. Every connection becomes a source of energy, opportunity, and encouragement. When you celebrate the success of others, they are more likely to celebrate yours. Trust grows, and with trust comes momentum. In such circles, mentorship flows naturally. Guidance is offered freely. Encouragement becomes the default. These networks don't operate by asking, "What can you do for me?" Instead, they are grounded in, "How can we rise together?" Each person's victory becomes proof of what is possible, and the shared momentum creates opportunities invisible to the lone striver. This kind of network requires patience, integrity, and consistency. But once it forms, it transforms how you see competition, growth, and achievement. Instead of competing out of fear, you collaborate out of strength. That is when success becomes sustainable, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. In these networks, failure doesn't isolate, it teaches. Setbacks become lessons that the group faces together. Accountability is paired with encouragement. Victories are multiplied because they are shared. Over time, such a network becomes like a living ecosystem, self-sustaining, resilient, and expansive. It can ripple out beyond the immediate circle, shaping communities, industries, and even societies. The greatest outcomes in history didn't come from isolated brilliance. They came from communities, movements, and circles of people who lifted each other higher. By committing to this path, you embody a timeless Stoic truth. Real success is never solitary. It is always social. It grows when shared. It becomes infinitely more rewarding when achieved alongside others. Closing reflection. So let me leave you with this thought. Success is not about proving you are better than others. It's about proving you are better than the person you were yesterday and helping others do the same. Rise by lifting others, and in doing so, you'll find yourself rising higher than you ever imagined. If this message speaks to you, I invite you to subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, the road to lasting success is not paved with envy or fear. It's built with generosity, collaboration, and shared victories. Together we rise.